Good morning, Team Miami Lakes. Here we are one more time on Wednesdays with our classes here at the office and hybrid. This class is being recorded and you'll be able to access it in our YouTube channel, okay? I'm so happy to see so many people connected. I am honored today to welcome Oscar A. Hernandez from ABMC Capital Loans. He is a specialist on SBA loans, small business administration loans, and he's going to give us an education as to what this is all about. Because it's not only a matter of selling residential, you can also do commercial real estate. And when Oscar explains how easy it is to help a entrepreneur, a new business owner acquire an SBA loan, you'll be pleasantly surprised, okay? And that's like the FHA of business, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right to business.
I've known Oscar for as long as I've had my license, almost 23 years. And I want to leave it to Oscar to explain how we met and how we did our first deal.
Okay, our first deal. Well, first, good morning for everyone here. Our first deal was a really very challenging one. And it was so challenging that it has remained as my record for the next 18 years. And the reason for that is that Marlene had a client that was turned down by a bank. And she said, well, look, it's a hard money. The buyer has a hard money. He's going to lose the money and we need to close it ASAP. And I said, well, you know, I'll do everything. That was 2005. All of you remember 2004 and 2005 with all the hurricanes hitting southern Florida and everything else. And we went ahead and closed that deal in 39 days. So when you close an SBA 504 in 39 days, it's really
unheard of.
It's unheard of. And I remember that it took 39 days because at that time, that was a long time ago, I have to physically send the package. Obviously, we don't send packages anymore. Everything goes via email. But at that time, I have to drop the package on FedEx. And that evening, FedEx did not pick up the package because of the hurricane. So eventually, we went ahead and closed the deal in 39 days, and the doctor never lost his deposit, obviously. And it remained as a record until March of last month, because I got a phone call from a realtor, and he said, do you think that you can close this deal by March the 1st? I said, well, yeah, I can close the deal, but not by March the 1st. And then, well, when do you think? Well, you know, I don't know. I will have to see if I have a complete package and this and that and so on and so forth. So I didn't close by March the 1st. I closed on March the 2nd.
Wow.
That's why it remains as a record right now, because I closed it in 35 days. Do you think that it's easy? No, it's not easy. You know, I have to be working with everybody. It's a team effort and everybody has to be working. But the key is to complete the financial information. If the client completes the financial information, we can close in, I would say, 45 days, which is a reasonable period of time. Now, we need to understand that when everybody, your client will say, oh, no, I have all the information. No, he doesn't. Or, well, I will tell my accountant to provide all the information. Well, obviously, accountant has 100 other clients and all of them are asking for information, and it takes a long time to complete a file. So that's why I would say, how long does it take to close an SBA 504? 45 days if everything goes right.
Okay, great. So I'll leave you here dictating the class, and more importantly, what is an SBA loan? I'll leave you to explain that to the group here.
Okay. Basically, the SBA loan is a loan from the Small Business Administration, and those are the initials for SBA. Typically, it's used for owner-user, owner-occupied deals. What does it mean? It means the business owner who wants to become property owner. Okay. me entendiste bien que es para el dueño del negocio que quiere convertirse en dueño de la propiedad. Now, why do they want to own the property? For the same reason that you don't want to be renting, you want to buy the property where you live and it becomes your homestead. Talking to business owners for a long time, basically their businesses generate their cash flow to for their living, the cash flow. However, the retirement really comes from owning a real estate property, and then when they decide to retire, they go ahead and they sell it. Okay, ustedes saben, a través de los años, el flujo de caja para pagar los gastos de la familia y eso viene del negocio, pero en realidad el retiro de ellos en muchas ocasiones viene de vender la propiedad, y ahí es donde hay una cantidad de dinero que obviamente los va a ayudar a ellos en su retiro. Nosotros tenemos que ver que los mayores problemas cuando ustedes le hablan a alguien de un SBA loan, le van a decir, it takes forever. Now, by now, you know that it doesn't take forever, porque 39 días cerrar uno, 35 días cerrar otro, más rápido que un conventional, ¿ok? Pero the key is that the person, the business owner, provide all the financial information to complete the file. Es decir, si ellos dan toda la información financiera, ¿saben? Cuando ustedes hablan eso con él, no, eso no es problema, eso yo se los doy enseguida, mi contador tiene toda la información. It doesn't work like that. No funciona, no es verdad. Le dicen que el contador ahora está en el tax season, which is true. Entonces, exactamente, tu trabajo no es tan urgente como filing los taxes. And it takes like 2 or 3 weeks to get all the information, okay? O a lo mejor le dice, mira, mi accountant is on vacation. So, tiene que esperar a que regrese a las vacaciones, ¿ok? O my accountant or attorney, they are in Europe because whatever. ¿Ok? Entonces, se demoran en completar el file. Cuando ellos se demoran en completar el file, el préstamo se demora. Yo no les puedo decir a ustedes cuántas llamadas yo he recibido del business owner diciéndome, ¿cuándo me vas a dar el commitment letter? Porque te voy a dar el commitment letter cuando me completes el file. Si, if you don't complete your file, I will not be able to give you a commitment letter. ¿Ok? Entonces, ¿cuáles son las cosas que yo los puedo ayudar a ustedes? It's okay if I mix English and Spanish con ustedes. Yeah. It's okay. Ok, primero que todo, el cliente de ustedes puede tener una relación bancaria. Y le voy a decir, no, yo voy a hablar con mi banco primero que tú. Ok, I was a banker most of my life. Okay, and I was with national banks, with local banks, and I also work with non-bank commercial lenders. Yo en realidad aprendí este negocio con la General Electric Capital, porque ellos eran el number 1 504 lender en el Southeast de la Florida, al extremo de que ellos hacían más SBA 504 que los otros bancos. Eso era como que impensable. En aquel tiempo no era Bank of America, pero era Nations Bank y otros bancos que estuvieron antes. Y nosotros año tras año hacíamos más SBA 504 que los bancos comerciales. ¿Cuál es el problema con el banco? El problema con el banco es que él está detrás de un escritorio ganando un salario. ¿Ustedes están ganando salario?
No.
Ninguno. Ok. Yo no estoy ganando un salario. Ok. Yo estoy a punto de cerrar a un cliente, y ojalá que no sean los clientes de ustedes, que lo he tenido que llevar 2 veces a credit simulation. ¿Ok? Y llegó hasta el punto de decirle, mira, no puedes pagar en McDonald's con la tarjeta de crédito. Punto. Y él me decía, pero me están tratando como un drug dealer, que todo lo tengo que hacer cash. Bueno, oye, si tú usas tu tarjeta de crédito, te va a bajar el credit score. Y si te baja el credit score, the deal is dead. Entonces, Ojalá que ese no sea el tipo de cliente que ustedes me traen. Yo prefiero el tipo de cliente que como el que yo cerré de los 35 días. Oye, everything was right. El esposo de...
Yes. No, I'm sorry. We do have some English speakers online.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm
We
sorry.
go back and forth. I'm sorry,
No,
Oscar.
okay. Then, like the client that I closed in 35 days, basically, the business owner is an accountant. So obviously, I deal directly with the husband, not with the business owner most of the time. You know, I said, hey, provide me the information, and as soon as I ask for it, hey, it's here. Hey, it's here. Well, that's why, yeah, I was able to close in 35 days, obviously. So basically, the bottom line is, I hope that your clients are good, that I can do a closing in 35 days. Obviously, you're going to like it, I'm going to like it, and everybody's going to be happy. If I have to take your client to 2 times to create simulation, it's not going to close in 45 days, not even in 60 days, okay? That will take longer. This client, I have been working with him for maybe like 4 or 5 months now. We arranged a hard equity loan for him to control the property, so he wouldn't lose the property. But obviously now we're in the process of giving him the SBA 504 with 90% financing. Okay, so the reason you want to deal with me is that I have the experience of the bank, but I'm not on a salary. I'm like all of you. Another reason is I will pre-qualify your client so you don't waste time with clients that cannot qualify. Okay, I have seen all over the years. You have client that says, well, I want to buy a property that is $1 million, and you know that what he's looking for is not worth $1 million, it's more expensive, but they have in their mind that they want to get only into a property of $1 million. Who knows how they got that idea, okay? But in any case, when I cash flow, I would tell you, your client qualifies for up to $3 million. Okay, that's very important because you may find a property that is worth $2 million and you would say, well, but you know, it's true. I know it's more than what you wanted to buy, but you really have enough cash flow to buy. And he, at the beginning, he would say, no, well, look, what you're looking for is not in the market. It's not at that price. But you know he cash flow for $3 million. Yeah. 99% of the time, guess what happens? The realtor find a property that is more than what he originally said. Okay. It happens in residential. Okay. The same way it happened in commercial. On the other hand, it's good that I pre-qualify for the other reason. They might say, well, I want to buy a property that is $5 million. Yeah, that's what he wants. But that's not what he can afford to buy. So you want to make sure that he's pre-qualified. Okay. So when you're talking about pre-qualification, it's important. A lot of realtors said, okay, I will work with you, but I need Oscar to pre-qualify you first. So that, you know, I do for free. To me, is wonderful because most of the time I end up closing the deal, and obviously you too. Okay, but that would give you the idea of what's going on, you know, in the market. Another reason to work with me: you got a listing for an owner-user property. Typically, they are offices, they are warehouse. They will never be apartment buildings, right? Because SBA requires that your client occupies at least 51% of the property. Now, is that a challenge? In theory, yes. In real life, it is not. Okay? Now, an apartment building will never be an SBA 504. Office buildings, they could be, you know, if the owner will occupy 51% or more, typically a lot of warehouses, you know, Hialeah,
Do that. Buy a building for your company.
a lot of warehouses in this area. About 90% of my deals are warehouses, and the rest are basically offices and very once in a while, it's like a building, standing alone building for other specific use. Most of them are for professionals. So keep this in mind. Apartment buildings are never SBA 504. Warehouses can be easily financed, and office buildings too.
Back,
Oh, okay.
you know why I'm back, Oscar? And I don't mean to interrupt, but everyone that's connected online, can you please mute your computers? Remember, we're recording this, so if you could mute your computers, would really, really appreciate it. Por favor, pongan mute, porque estamos oyendo los sonidos por detrás. Gracias. That was the commercial
Oh, okay.
part of,
That was a little break.
that was the paid advertised commercial.
Okay. Okay, so by now you know the advantages of working with me. Now, what are the advantages of having an SBA 504? Is that you can get financing up to 90% of the purchase price. So if you get a client with a warehouse that is worth $1 million, roughly, we will lend $900,000. I said roughly because it's going to be a little more, because SBA allows to finance some or most of the closing costs, but not all closing costs. ¿Está claro esto? SBA le permite financiar la mayor parte de los gastos de cierre, pero no todos los gastos de cierre. Okay? They have their own formulas. And when I get the deal, the first thing I do is I look, I got a deal here for, you know, let's say $1 million, and I would say, okay, $25,000 for closing costs, give or take, that they will finance. So the loan is not going, the project for me is not $1 million, but $1,025,000. Okay, and then I will crunch the numbers based on that. And SBA will, and the bank will, and everybody's happy, okay? Now, the other objection that your client will raise is they are going to ask me for everything. Well, that is not true anymore. When the program began, yes, that was true. They will ask for a lot of additional information. These days, or for a long time, they only require what commercial bank requires for conventional loans. So an SBA will not require more information than a conventional loan. So it's very easy. Another reason, oh, we'll have to be filling paperwork forever. No, that is not true. It used to be, not anymore. I will get the forms in my computer. I really print because I need to sit with the client and I need to gather the business information. SBA does not require, but banks do require. I know if you know your customer. I mean, I'm sure that you have to do some research, because if a client of yours says, well, I have $1 million in cash and I want to buy a house, you get scared. Okay, how did you get that $1 million? You need to find out. So banks have to do the same thing, and it's called know your customer. I have to personally go to the place of business, and obviously I gather all the information from my credit memo, and that's how, you know, I comply with know your customer. He's there, that's his business. I went there and I saw him and I talked to him there. Okay, so that is something that I do that, you know, it's easy to solve. Okay, so we have 90% financing. Also, let me explain you how this loan works. Let's say that you found a warehouse for $1 million, and I crunched the number and said, yes, your client is qualified, and let's keep it simple, it's $1 million. Okay, I will take it to a bank, and that bank will lend $500,000 in the first mortgage. And I'm going to take it to the SBA, and the SBA is going to lend $400,000. Okay, I'm not taking into account the closing costs to make the example easy for everybody. So 500 and 400. With the SBA 504, you always have two loans, a first and a second. Okay, you will have two debit, one going to the bank, the other one going to the SBA. Is everybody clear up to now? 500, 400 is 90%. The 100,000 remaining comes from the investment from the business owner. Now, you have a lot of businesses that have EIDL loans. And a lot of business owners still have cash that they have not spent. Okay, and I don't know how many requests I got. Oscar, can I use this as a down payment? Okay. Okay, the answer is no, you cannot, but in real life, they are using the money as a down payment. Okay, so I cannot tell the client, oh yes, you can use it, but I have seen they do. And as long as they have the cash in the accounts, in the business or in a personal account, typically está en la cuenta del business, they have used the money. And so far it has worked and nobody has raised any issue. In theory, it was a disaster loan, but they didn't have to spend the money in disaster, okay? So, or they did not have a disaster, okay? So the answer is, you cannot use it, but everybody's using it. Okay, so that's easy. Another advantage of SBA 504 is the loan from the SBA, the 40% loan is fixed for 25 years. There is no balloon payment. There is no interest rate reset. So that's very important. 40% of the purchase price is fixed for 25 years. During the COVID era, I remember loans at 3%, 3.25% fixed for 25 years. Yes. Only Uncle Sam can do that, okay? Now, the first mortgage is going to be for 25 years amortization too, but it is going to have interest rate reset. Now, the reset will depend on your client. Entonces, eso va a depender en el cliente de ustedes. Si typically 10-year is long-term and is higher. Okay, these days, because of the inverted yield curve, 10-year is lower than 2 years. Okay, so keep this in mind. The decision to reset the interest rate is going to depend on your client. I will give him the options and he will say, I want it fixed for 5 or 10 or 7 years, but it's fully amortized over 25 years. He doesn't have to refinance and it does not have a balloon payment. Is clear? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, let me ask you, I'm too technical on this or you want to know more? Because I will go into explaining the prepayment penalties, but if it is confusing or is too much information in one day, I will avoid. I will not do it. Okay, for the Hispanic clients, to find out and to know the prepayment penalty is more important, and I spend more time explaining prepayment penalties than where I got the interest rate, okay? Eso es increíble, pero I spend more time explaining the prepayment penalties than the interest rate. Eso es como que unthinkable. It never happens with Anglo clients, never happens. And that happens because Hispanic clients want to own the property free and clear. Right. How many have found clients that want to own the property free and clear? 100% of the Hispanic clients, they want to own the property free and clear. Okay, en commercial es lo mismo. Okay, commercial es lo mismo. Okay, so there, for the first mortgage, there are different prepayment penalties. Now, you need to understand that there is a relationship between the prepayment penalty and the interest rate. If I quote 10% fixed for 10 years, that means if you prepay a loan in less than 10 years, you will get 10% prepayment penalty. However, you can prepay up to 20% of the initial amount. Good morning. Welcome. But you need to understand that the first mortgage can be prepaid 20% each year without prepayment penalty. Okay, what I mean is in the first 5 years, you can prepay the loan without prepayment penalty. Okay, ¿está claro esto? aunque el prepayment penalty es por 10 años al 10%, you have the choice, or I mean, not you, your client has the choice to prepay up to 20% per year
Without being penalized.
without penalty.
Okay.
Okay, I have 2 Venezuelan clients that they do that. Okay, when they are closing to the year, they get on the phone, the 800 number, and
And they
they
pay 20%.
they call the bank and said, tell me what is the 20% that I can prepay this year. And the bank said, okay, here is the amount, here is the account, and you send the money there, and that's it. And they prepay. Why? Because they want to prepay the first loan in 5 years.
Okay.
Okay. Now, from a financial point of view, I don't recommend that to anybody because you could be using that money to increase your business. I don't mean invest in the stock market. I don't mean invest in the bond market. Invest in your own business.
Right.
Okay. I typically ask, do you need?
No, there's no other scheduled commercial break. We just take a lot of pictures.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Okay, so what happens is that you know, what I was telling you about the prepayment penalty, if I offer 10% fixed for 10 years, that would be the lowest interest rate. And that's what your client really is looking for. And if he can prepay 20% per year, he doesn't care because in theory, he can repay the loan in 5 years without penalty. Even though the note would say 10% for the first 10 years, but he can get repay the loan in the first 5 years without penalty, and he will get the lowest interest rate. Okay, welcome. Welcome. Okay, so what I was saying about the, you know, from a financial point of view, what I was saying is that, for example, instead of using that money to prepay your loan, you should be expanding your business. Sometimes I ask the business owner, what is the rate of return in your business? And the business owner, sometimes they don't know. But sometimes they know, and they would say it's 20%. And I say, okay, let's say you're going to pay $100,000 in prepayment this year. What is $100,000 at 20% compound for the next 5 or 10 years? The number is unbelievable. It doesn't make any sense to repay the loan. Pero in the Hispanic mentality, they want to own the real estate free and clear no matter what. So even though it's not a good financial decision, you know, if you use the money to increase, it may be you're after a client that doesn't want to come to work with you, and he's working with your competition. But you tell him, offer, if your competition is offering 30 days, net 30 days, offer them net 60 days. Use that $100,000 to prepay the loan. Use it to gain that account. And that account is going to compensate far more. What is the rate of return that you get on debt equity? 0. You don't get any rate of return in debt equity. However, you get what is called peace of mind. And when I say peace of mind is a lot of people say, well, I really want to make sure that I don't owe anything in my real estate. Okay, up to now, do you have any questions about what I have explained? Everybody's clear that it's 90% financing.
Yes.
Everybody's clear that the SBA loan is fixed for 25 years.
Mhm.
Everybody is clear that depending on the prepayment penalty, you will get a lower or a higher interest rate.
Mhm.
Okay, is everybody clear that that you can prepay up to 20% of the loan every year without prepayment penalty? So even if you have 10 years of prepayment penalty, you really can pay that loan off in 5 years without penalty.
So for the prepayment, Is it for both loans or either, doesn't matter, or is it, we're talking about?
No, I'm going to go over that, but the prepayment penalty with the SBA is completely different. Okay? But I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear.
Okay.
And now I'm going to go over the prepayment penalty for the SBA.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is for the first one.
For the first from the bank.
Okay. not
I
for
have
the
a question.
All right.
Is it assumable?
The bank loan is not assumable. The SBA is.
So
When
again,
interest rates are very high, you have an interest in saying this property is financed with an SBA loan with very low interest. You might qualify to assume that loan. So you only need to get approved for the first mortgage, not for the SBA loan.
what's the percentage again, Oscar?
50% financing with the bank and 40% financing with SBA. That's how you get 90%. The 10% remaining is the investment from the business owner. That's the down payment.
Let's be a devil's advocate. here.
Okay.
What happens if the consumer defaults on the loan? Who assumes the responsibility of the foreclosure on the property?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. Okay, typically the bank is off the hook. If you're a banker and you cannot collect 50 cents on the dollar, and I said 50 cents because your exposure is only 50%, right? If you cannot collect 50% on a dollar, you should not be a banker. You should be selling mangoes or aguacate in the corner, but you should not be a banker, okay? 50% loan to value is like everybody, the bank will collect his money. The problem is with the SBA. Okay, in 2009, I had that situation and I'm going to talk about foreigners later on, but this is a Venezuelan with a tourist visa, okay? And he was big manufacturing in Venezuela and he wanted to do here the same thing. So he wanted to buy the property and it's more complicated, but the bottom line, I'm going to explain the details later on, but not now. What happened is that the person that were selling that property, they bought it at the peak of the market. And there were 3 owners, okay? 2 of them managed the business and do the business, and they had no assets. The other guy, he came up with the money, okay? And he was there because otherwise the other 2 would not qualify. So he had a lot of money at stake. And he said, and the SBA, what do you think the SBA went after? Do you think that they went after the 2 that didn't have any money? No, they went after the other guy who did not manage the business, but put the money, okay? So when we get very close to close that deal, the guy said, no, I'm not going to sell it. But 2009, the real estate crisis, all the prices, went down. I mean, it was a short sale and the guy refused to come up with more money. And the SBA, not the bank, but the SBA the legal department told him, if you need to come up at least with a 10% of the amount that the SBA is going to lose in this deal. And obviously he had more than enough assets to satisfy the 10%. But if you're not willing to close this deal and that property goes into foreclosure and we lose more money, the Treasury Department attorneys are going to go after you for the full amount that SBA lost. Well, I'm not going to sell it. And blah, 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 blah. They were managing the business. I didn't have to do anything with that, everything. And his attorney said, it's okay, don't worry. His attorney convinced him that he was better off coming with the 10% of the amount that SBA was going to default than have the Treasury Department attorneys going after him for the full amount.
Made no sense.
Well, we close. Okay, he was a Venezuelan with a tourist visa, and I closed him. It's in Opaloca, the property. He's still on the property. Now, we cannot finance foreigners anymore. As of October of 2019, foreigners are not allowed to finance with SBA 504. The only way I can structure an SBA 504 is if the foreigners own 49% of the company and a person, citizen or a green card owns 51% of the property of the company. Is that clear to you?
Oscar,
Yes.
just to further clarify on that point, because I know it's sometimes we structure deals to make things happen. What if it's, you know, 4 partners, let's say, and 2 of them are US residents that own 51%? Can it be a combination of 51% ownership on the US resident, or does it have to be one individual that's 51%
The answer
or
is
more?
yes. It can be
Great.
arranged that way.
What is the question?
The question is if more than one either permanent resident or a US citizen owns 51%, the answer is yes. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever, you know. As long as, you know, believe me, I used to arrange a lot of, I could not make my budget with foreigners, okay? But there was a joke at the SBA that I would get my clients because I used to go to the Miami International Airport with a sign saying, I finance foreigners, which obviously it was a joke, it never happened. But SBA, I would generate a lot of foreigners for the SBA. And all of them, as far as I know, based on what they have told me, they have always repaid their loan, and we never had, SBA never had a loss in the Miami area with foreigners, okay? But obviously in other cities, they did.
Right.
And that's why in October of 2019, they said, that's it, it's over, no more, okay? So a foreigner can own 49% of the corporation, and the permanent resident or the US citizen will have to own the remaining 51%. Also, I want to say another one that you should be aware, even though it's not going to help anything. I financed the first foreigner without social security number in the US. Okay, that was a challenge, okay? And I didn't know, but we closed the deal like a month later. The SBA called me and they said, hey, I got a phone call from Sacramento, because Sacramento is where the national place where they approve all the SBA 504 loans. And I got a call from Sacramento, and they told me that this is the first loan in the nation that closed for a foreigner without social security number. No, a lot of work, a lot of things to be done, but it closed, and obviously the guy is making money like a bandit in Doral, and a technology company. It's unbelievable. Okay, so after I have talked about this topic that really I did not plan to include it, let me go back to the prepayment penalty with the SBA loan. All right, so it's clear, foreigners, 49% of the operating company, and 49% of the real estate holding company. 99% of the deals close in a 504. You have the company that is generating the income, and then the business owner create another company that is going to own the real estate. Okay, that is the real estate holding company. Okay, and that is done only for asset protection. 99% of deals close like that. Okay, so it's really simple. At the time of closing, the SBA will write a lease between the operating company and the real estate holding company, and that's how that deal gets closed. So let's go back to the prepayment penalty for the SBA loan. Okay, SBA loan prepayment penalty are more complicated. Okay, in the first loan, you could make partial payments. You could pay up to 20%. Okay, SBA would not allow you for partial prepayments. Okay, no puede hacer pagos parciales, punto. Okay, now, how they calculate the interest rate, the prepayment penalty. Okay, last month, the interest rate was 6.31. Okay, let's say that you won the lottery and you said, forget it. I'm going to retire to the Bermuda Islands and I'm not going to work anymore in my life. So let me pay the SBA loan. Okay, your prepayment penalty is going to be 6.31%. That means the interest rate that you got at the auction. Okay, so let's say that scenario happened not that year, but the following year. Okay, so the prepayment penalty is not 6.31, it's 90% of 6.31. So it dropped 10%. The following year is 80% of 631. So it's 10% declining per year. Okay,
Per year that you're holding that loan.
that you have that loan.
Okay,
After the 10-year,
that's it.
no penalty. Okay, now, in addition, you have 2 moments. You cannot prepay that loan when you close or whenever you want. It has to be only 2 dates during the year. In the month of your anniversary closing. So if you close in the, I will tell you, I don't know if you should tell that to the owner because it's a lot of information and it's, well, what's
Yeah,
going
no,
on? Yeah,
It's
oh
only
yeah,
gonna confuse them.
it's only going to confuse them.
Okay.
So let's say that they close in April. Okay, so every year that it gets to April, they can prepay the loan. Or 6 months after that, May, June, July, August, September, and October. Okay, in October or April of each year, they can go ahead and prepay the full note or not prepay at all. Is that clear? Don't get into the SBA prepayment penalty. I would explain to your client because it's complicated. So don't do it. Just tell them that that I will explain all the prepayments and the interest rate and everything. And obviously I will explain to them.
Well, you do sell the property 10 years prior of the penalty, you still are required to pay the penalty if you sold.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So there's no clause for exclusion.
With the SBA, no.
Okay.
Now, keep this in mind. You get a loan fixed for 25 years, and that rate is below the market
It's
rate.
fixed and then you can, and it's assumable, so whoever buys the
It's
property
assumable.
can.
If the interest rate is low, right,
Yeah.
you may be able to assume they will qualify the buyer. If the buyer is strong, they would say, yeah, you can assume. If the buyer is weaker, forget it, they will not. Okay, I have had that situation in the past. In one case, they let the original borrower off the hook because the buyer was stronger than the original buyer. But I had another case where the buyer was really weaker and the SBA said, well, yeah, you can assume, but he still have to remain in the mortgage as a guarantor. And obviously the seller said, forget it, I'm not going to be. So it was not assumable because of that. So it depends on how strong the buyer is. Okay. Okay. Do you have any question up to here? Because we have covered a lot of area.
You want to do a condensed Spanish version?
Ok, el préstamo del SBA 504 está preparado para los dueños de negocios que quieren convertirse en dueños de la propiedad y van a tener el negocio puesto ahí. A través de los años se ha visto que el cash flow para la vida de ellos se genera por el negocio, pero lo que es el retiro viene de la venta del real estate, porque después que han tenido 10 años, 15 años, obviamente el precio de la propiedad ha subido mucho. La ventaja que le ofrece el SBA 504 es que le da 90% de financiamiento y ese financiamiento, el 40% es un préstamo del SBA que tiene una tasa de interés por debajo del mercado. Es decir, está por debajo de lo que los préstamos, los bancos comerciales le pueden ofrecer al cliente. Además de eso, el SBA le permite que usted financie parte o la mayor parte de los gastos de cierre, pero no todos los gastos de cierre. Eso es importante. En los ejemplos que yo he puesto para hacerlo más sencillo, yo usé un warehouse de $1 millón y entonces les dije que era 500,000 de un banco y 400,000 del SBA. ¿Okay? Hablamos también de que los extranjeros no son elegibles para financiamiento con SBA a partir de octubre del año 2019. También expliqué que ellos pueden, si ellos tienen una persona, porque aquí en la zona de Miami, ¿cuántos tienen familiares, qué sé yo, que son residentes o que son ciudadanos y pueden ser dueños 51% de la propiedad? Aunque en realidad el extranjero sea el que esté corriendo el negocio detrás, pero él es nada más que dueño del 49%. ¿Okay? Entonces es posible darle financiamiento de esa forma. También yo hablé del préstamo del SBA en el sentido de que no tiene balloon payment, es fijo por los 25 años. También les hablé que la primera hipoteca tiene tiene su prepayment penalty, pero ustedes pueden pagar hasta el cliente de ustedes puede pagar hasta el 20% de la nota original cada año sin penalidad. Aunque, por ejemplo, a la hora del cierre, el prepayment penalty le diga es 10% fijo por los primeros 10 años. Pero ellos en teoría pueden repagar ese préstamo en 5 años, ¿ok? Sin penalidad. Ahora, les expliqué que la penalidad con el SBA es completamente diferente porque el primer préstamo permite pagos parciales, pero el SBA no le permite pagos parciales. O paga la nota por completo o no puede pagar la nota. Period. No le permiten pagos parciales. Entonces, otra cosa que tiene el préstamo del SBA es que el prepayment penalty, la penalidad, si usted cierra, usted puede pagar ese préstamo, digamos, si usted cierra en abril, es el aniversario, o lo puede pagar en octubre, porque es a los 6 meses de haber cerrado. Esas son las dos oportunidades en que ustedes tienen de hacer el pago de un préstamo del SBA. Ok. No sé si hay alguna otra cosa que yo haya cubierto en inglés que no la haya explicado ahora en español, o si tienen alguna pregunta que algo que ustedes quieran.
Asumir.
Asumible es el préstamo del SBA, pero no es el primer préstamo del banco. El préstamo del SBA yo he visto asumirlo sin problema porque era un comprador bien fuerte y el SBA sacó de la nota al que originalmente pidió el préstamo con el SBA porque era mucho más flojo. Pero también he visto que cuando el comprador es muy flojo o es muy, ustedes saben, muy weak, le dice, sí, tú lo puedes asumir, pero yo no voy a sacar de garantor al que originalmente cogió el préstamo. Entonces, obviamente, en ese caso, el vendedor dice, forget it, no lo vas a asumir porque yo no voy a quedarme garantizándote un préstamo que yo no sé lo que tú vas a hacer con él.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Wonderful.
SBA, and I don't know if you've explained this because I've been in and out, has a provision for capital improvement.
Okay, I want to cover that in a completely section because there is a lot of information about that.
But can you give them just a sliver? In other words.
Okay, the easy answer is yes.
Okay. got it.
Okay, okay. Hay varios escenarios. Okay, you have different scenarios. Okay, let's say that warehouse is really in bad shape and it's $1 million, but your client needs 200,000 in property improvements, and that happens a lot. Okay, okay. The bottom line is, to you, it's $1 million. Okay, that's the price of the warehouse. To me, it's $1,200,000. Okay, I would say, and the SBA would say, the total project is $1,200,000. Okay, so to me, it's not 500, it's 600,000 in the first mortgage. And for SBA, it's going to be 40% of the $1.2 million. Okay, okay, in esto, you have two different scenarios. If the improvements are minors, the bank would say, okay, you have the money here, do the improvement, and that's it. Now, typically that doesn't happen. If you need improvements for less than $60,000, $80,000, it's better to get it out of your pocket, okay? Because you have more expenses when you finance the property improvement. Okay, you will have to ask for an appraiser that is more expensive because it's going to be as is and as completed. Two values. So the appraiser is going to charge you more. Okay, also, the bank is going to hire an inspection company. The bank is going to require that you sign a contract with a general contractor. It's going to require that the general contractor put a cost improvement. So you're going to say this wall is going to be here, this is going to be built there, blah, 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 and then that will be added up. Hopefully we'll get to 200,000, and that's how I ended up with the example of 1,200,000. Okay, if you need 200,000 in improvement, most likely you need financing for them. And that is fine. There is no problem with that. At the time of closing, the bank will finance the first mortgage and will pump the money for the SBA, because at that time you are approved by SBA, but the SBA does not have the money yet. Okay, it's clear to you? The bank will finance the first and the second mortgage. Okay, I don't want to go over all the technicalities because you might think that it's difficult, and really it's not. At the time of closing, there will be 3 loans that will be closing at the same time. The buyer doesn't need to know. He will be giving papers and he will be signing, and he will get that. But I don't want to complicate the deal. I mean, it's not really that difficult. SBA generated their deal, the bank generated their paperwork, and they will sign all of them, and that will be it.
Right, I know that's a separate class, and maybe he could come back at a later date to talk to us about that, but does that work like a construction loan that they get draws, or they get this money up front?
If the amount is very small, they would say, just get the money. But I mean, small amount is like 40,000 or something. Or the bank will say, okay, give me your invoices and I will pay directly to the general contractor. Okay. Now, if it is a large project, then there are other things that it will be a construction loan,
Right.
where you have a notice of commencement. Okay. And then the bank will tell everybody, and they will have to sign documents that they will finance 95% of the property improvements, and they will retain 5%. Okay, why that happens? Because when you finish, when the general contractor completes the project, he will file a notice of completion. And then the clock will start to run to file any mechanic lien. When the period to file a mechanic lien expires, then the bank will release the remaining 5%. So the general contractor will get paid 100%, but it's after the mechanic lien period expires. The bank is protecting your client, but it's not because your client is a good person. It's because they are protecting their own money.
Of course.
Is that clear?
Yes, so do that sliver in Spanish.
Okay.
And then we go to the next question.
Ok, si la cantidad de mejoras a la propiedad es pequeño, el banco va a decir, oye, it's okay, aquí está el dinero, mándame las facturas y entonces yo lo pago directamente, and that's it, se acabó lo que se daba. Ahora, si es los $200,000, que estamos hablando de mucho más dinero, el banco va a requerir un inspection company, va a requerir un cost breakdown del general contractor, va a requerir que la ciudad apruebe los planos y que le dé los permisos para empezar a construir de inmediato, ¿ok? Todas esas cosas. Entonces, una vez al mes, todas las facturas que se someten, el banco las va a coger y va a hacer un pago de 95% del valor total de los improvements. ¿Por qué pasa eso? Porque el contratista va a tener que registrar una Notice of Commencement. Y todo el trabajo se va a hacer. Y cuando se termine, el contratista tiene que llenar lo que se llama un Notice of Completion. ¿Por qué cosa eso es importante? Porque el reloj para registrar un mechanic lien es el periodo en que el banco retiene todavía el 5%, y entonces si nadie hace un mechanic lien, el banco suelta el 5% restante. ¿Ok? Está claro. Como yo les decía, no es que el banco esté protegiendo al cliente de ustedes porque es buena gente. El banco se está protegiendo sus propios fondos porque ellos no quieren que le filen un mechanic lien en contra de la propiedad. ¿Está claro eso? ¿Tiene alguna pregunta acerca? Como ustedes se dan cuenta, es más complicado para ustedes, no es un issue. Lo importante que ustedes tienen que saber, obviamente entre el banco y yo nos hacemos cargo de resolver esos problemas. Para ustedes lo importante es que ustedes consiguieron una propiedad de $1 millón y que el cliente de ustedes se le dieron $200,000 más para mejorar la propiedad. ¿Está claro hasta ahí? Ustedes no se tienen que involucrar que si hay un notice of completion, que si hay un notice of commencement. The bank does. La compañía de inspección va a mandar una inspección para estar seguro que lo que se facturó coincide con lo que se construyó. ¿Está claro? Y entonces después de eso el banco le hace el release, suelta el 5% restante. ¿Tienen alguna pregunta?
No.
Ok. Marlene, I'm sorry to interrupt. ¿Tú tienes alguna otra pregunta que tú querías hacer?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I know that we do residential real estate for the most part, but you never know because we all work somewhere, right? You could be working and dealing with a business owner. You could be working with somebody who's an executive in a company. And you could be working with someone that where they work or they're the owner of the business, maybe they want to buy instead of continue. So one of the ways that I started in commercial real estate was a very simple question. Irina, what do you do for a living? I don't know if I should have asked that to Irina. Irina does a little bit of everything. She's an entrepreneur. So Javier, what do you do for a living? Javier, excuse me?
Right now, real estate.
Real estate, right? But maybe you or your partner or a family member is a business owner. So that could open up opportunities. In residential, we say, how many bedrooms and bathrooms are you looking for? In business, the question to ask, Andrea, what do you do for a living? What does your husband do for a living? Okay, you never know who you're talking to. You could be talking to the CEO of Burger King.
Right.
Okay, or any other company. And it really starts from there. Not that you have to be a commercial specialist, but you know that I have a lot of years of background in commercial. And I've worked with Oscar he was the first commercial loan that I ever did 20 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And it was a very pleasant experience, SBA. So obviously I've continued to use him. We just closed another one on Friday. And that was the fastest closing because they wanted an extension for 1 week. And I told Oscar, absolutely not. We need to close by Friday, March the 31st. And we did what is called a dry closing.
Yeah.
But we closed, okay? Even though they didn't disperse the funds until Monday. But we put the pressure on them. And by the way, Title Logic and Sanchez Vadillo have worked with SBA before. And it's unique because the SBA attorney attends the closing. But since we gave them a 24-hour window and they didn't have it on their schedule, they said, oh, just go ahead. Because they have a working relationship.
They emailed the paperwork and that's how they close.
Yeah.
Question, how much is the SBA loan right now? The interest?
Okay, for last month, it was 6.31, which is really a high rate for SBA. Now, in this auction of this month, and it's going to come next week, I will let you know, but I can tell you that it's lower because of the property with the banks, the regional banks, and the perception that the economy is going into a recession. The bond market is already lowering interest rate. The mortgage, residential mortgage, the news is out today. It went to 640 or 645, and it's the lowest in the last 6 weeks. And the reason is because obviously the market is saying we're going into a recession. So interest rate have to come down. So basically that's, since the economy most likely will go into a recession, keep this in mind. You will have a lot of people, sellers that might want to lease the real estate. That is one option for you. Also, keep in mind the industries that are really recession proof. Okay. For example, if you deal with food companies, it doesn't matter if there is a recession, people still eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Need to eat.
Yeah.
Some of us more.
Less,
some of us
exactly.
less. But we need to
Well,
be, right?
Todo el mundo tiene que comer, okay?
Of course.
Okay, so if you are in the food industry, most likely you are in the right track. Because even if there is a recession, they still have sales. Now, the other thing is, what about healthcare? La gente siempre se enferma,
Yeah,
okay?
well,
They
definitely.
still will have to go.
In the funeral.
Exactly, the funeral homes. People
Okay,
still
let's
die.
change the subject about funeral homes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
They will get financing with SBA 504, owner user business.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so basically the bottom line is, if you believe that the economy is going into a recession, go into industry and prospect for business in industries that are really,
Feeling the recession.
that they're not going to be affected by the recession. Doctors are difficult to work with because it seems that their enemies took their financial decisions. They have a lot of money getting in and they have a lot of money going out,
Right.
and they will do weird things. I mean, it's not easy at the
They don't know
beginning.
how to manage their money well.
Well, I'm really skeptical of that statement. I have seen very few doctors that really are efficient managing their money. A lot of people, they do things that, oh my God, their enemies must have taken that decision for them.
Yes.
But in any case, doctors still get a lot of money and people still get sick, even during bad
A lot
times.
of retail stores are gonna be hit.
Oh, yes.
Okay, but the good thing about this is that retailers ever buy the real estate. They never buy the real estate. I have not been able to finance a retailer yet. And now in September, it's going to be 20 years that I have been doing this type of loan. Another industry that don't go after them is the coin laundry.
Coin laundry.
Coin laundry.
Coin laundries are becoming extinct.
Yes.
Well, they are becoming extinct, but the problem with them is they get all the revenues in cash.
Right.
And I'm sure you never heard this before, but they underreport
Of course.
in their income taxes. You never heard this before.
Of course.
I have found some of them in my life, in my working life. So don't go after coin laundries because
Now, this might not be an appropriate question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
okay.
Does the SBA finance churches when they're buying the land?
The answer is no, because they are non-for-profit. Okay, the company must be a for-profit to be financed. Non-for-profit are not eligible, so churches are not eligible. Okay, think another thing that is going to require a lot of work, even if there is a recession, daycares. Fewer and fewer daycares, and not only that, higher barriers to entry. I was talking to a lady who said, I don't want to buy a new one because it's going to cost me a lot in licenses, in compliance, in this. I prefer to buy the property where I am. Okay, so keep that in mind. People, industries in the food business, daycares, they are really easy to finance. Companies that deal a lot in cash and they underestimate their revenues, don't go after them. It's not worth it. You know, I have two stories that if I tell you, you will be laughing until tomorrow. And that is the single most common reason why I turn down people. Okay, the reason is that they underreport. I'm sure you have not found anybody here.
I was trying to do a lady commercial, but you get under shell. She's a flower shop.
A florist shop is extremely difficult because
They
basically their revenues are all cash.
so it's a problem.
It's a
He's been in the
problem.
business forever, but they underestimate on their taxes, so I thought if you don't get the stuff.
When
gonna be
I was with GE, so that means a long time ago, I met a guy who owned a business and he sells all the non-gas items to the gas store. The only thing he didn't sell to the gas station was the gas. He would sell everything else, all the food or everything. So when he goes to a gas station, his business would be $100 here, $150 there. I mean, very small business, okay? But because he sells to so many, he had a wonderful business. And he was telling me my business is growing year after year. And I remember $705,000 in revenue for the year. Okay, what happens is that I said, okay, $705,000 a year. He was paying a very small amount of rent. He would not pay himself a salary. So he was basically getting whatever is left. Okay, whatever was left was about $7,000. So I look at the number and say, okay, you're telling me that you sold over $700,000. Yes. You are telling me you didn't pay yourself a salary. No, I didn't pay a salary. And you are telling me that you have $7,000 left after all the expenses. Yes, that's what happened. Okay, but let me tell you this. Go to a McDonald's, get a job, a part-time job, and you are going to make more money than running this company. You know, when I told him that, he was like serious at the beginning. He laughed because obviously, hey, look, I don't know his business, but those are what your numbers are telling me. What your numbers are telling me is that you don't cash flow. I cannot sell you a warehouse. I cannot finance it because you're not reporting. He said, what happens is that my bills are very small. People pay me with cash most of the time. Well, you have your choices. I could not finance it. Why do you think that I cannot finance laundry cleaners? For the same reason. So avoid those industries because they don't cash flow. They want to, but they don't cash flow.
They don't report the cash flow.
Exactamente.
Yeah.
They don't report. Well, if they report, then I cannot approve you.
So if they start reporting it, how much of a history do they need? Like tax
You
years?
need 3 years.
3 years.
Corporate and personal income taxes.
So someone like the Flores or
The Flores,
they you have to fix it. for
barber
3 years.
shops. Barber shops, another example.
What about pawn shop?
Pawn shops may, well, it depends how much they report. If they do report and they want to, they cannot buy a shopping center because typically they are small stores, so they will not occupy 51%. But if they are in a standalone building, they might get it. Is that clear to you?
Oscar,
Yes.
I just want to clarify for the team's sake. When you say they are, not able to be financed, can you just clarify to them whether it's a matter of the specific occupation or the fact of how they report their income? Because I think that makes a big difference in what we're
It's
talking
how
about here.
they report their income.
Yeah.
So
it's not that you can't-
would not finance non-for-profits.
Right.
But if you cash flow and you are in the list of eligible, that is basically all the for-profits.
Right.
You can be financed with SBA if you decide to report your income.
Right. So it's not that you can't finance a flower shop, for example. It's that in most cases, flower shops don't report income. But if they did report
Exactly.
income for the required number of years, then you could absolutely get them a warehouse.
In fact,
loan.
really in real life, if you cash flow in your most recent year and year to date, you can get approved for the SBA 504 loan. You don't really need to be a cash flow for 3 years. Most recent year and year to date.
Yeah, that's good. That's good information for everybody to know because it's a lot of people think
It
it's
is,
3
it is,
years or
because
or they can't because of a type of industry. It's not so much the industry. I mean, obviously we both know there's a lot of prohibited industries. But for the most part, it's the cash flow of the business as long as they're reporting it. I don't know if everybody in the room over there can hear me, but it's definitely good for them to know that it's not so much that the industry cannot be approved.
Something about the cash flow and only
Okay.
the current.
Basically, what he's saying is that I should make a distinction if it is eligible or if it is because of the reporting. ¿Ok? Y yo le expliqué que efectivamente es por el reporting la mayor parte de las veces. Por ejemplo, hay industrias que no se van a financiar con SBA. Si es companies que están, por ejemplo, había un tipo de compañía que está en los jeans que se llama Lady of Americans.
Yes, I remember. that.
Okay, typically they would not buy the real estate, pero es un ejemplo que a mí me sirve para ilustrar. Si ellos fueran a comprarse el real estate, they would not qualify because they don't accept men. So SBA will consider them like they discriminate against men. So SBA will not finance them, even though they report everything, pero no sería elegible.
Okay.
Okay, pero eso es como que 0.001%. I mean, todos los negocios quieren tener, to serve everybody, male and female. Forget about, Pero bueno, ese es un caso. Los spa is difficult, What about financing land? Land. Okay, that's a challenge because of truck parking stations. Okay, truck parking space has almost disappeared and prices have gone through the roof.
Right.
Okay, why? Because
Yeah,
people build and you
population.
have very few of them.
If you have a business, you cannot park it.
Okay, there are businesses that you can finance instead of 90, you can only finance up to 85%. And land trucking is one of them. Okay, there are industries that you can only finance 85%. Okay, what about hotels? Hotels can only be hotels. 85%. What about gas stations? Gas stations are only gas stations, 85%. I was trying to finance a truck parking space in Tampa, and they said, I own the land, I want to finance 90%. I said, well, I can only give you 85%. Okay, because there were several truck companies that wanted to park there. One was with Italian food, the other one Chinese food, the other Hispanic food, different trucks, but all of them will be there. So people, it's a place with a lot of traffic, so people will go there. Well, okay, to do that, you have to provide some common services, some common areas, like restrooms, like other facilities. It may be something else that they could all use, and then it would be 85%. I have financed 85% in Hialeah Gardens. They recently sold the property because they got an offer like they could not refuse. They were willing to pay the SBA prepayment penalties. They got so much money for a piece of land. And I financed them to 85%. Now, can a business owner buy land and build a building there? The answer is yes, but it's a little bit complicated, so I don't want to take your time on that. If you come across a land deal that the owner want to build a building for his business, you call me and I will give you the explanation. Okay. Okay, do you have any questions so far? Anything that I need to explain more, anything that... Okay, we are more than an hour into the explanation. I want to make sure that everybody, I don't want to give you a lot of information. and you come out, kind of confused with so many things. When you have that type of situation, you give me a call. And I will tell you, and I will arrange. Yo les voy a preparar el muñeco. Okay, that means I will prepare the transaction and you will get it. You will get it done. I will pre-qualify your client and that kind of things. I want to touch on one more item. Okay, all of you hear about artificial intelligence these days, okay? Are banks using artificial intelligence to approve or turn down deals? Yes, they are, okay? That is a challenge. That is a new challenge that I have faced recently. Okay, on deals for less than $1 million, banks are supposed to use, or they are using, artificial intelligence models to approve or turn down deals before they go to underwriting. It's that simple. Okay. As I told you, I have been doing this for almost 20 years now. And last year was the first time that I lost 2 deals with cash flow because the bank have been using artificial intelligence model for a short period of time, and they turned down those 2 deals. When they turned down the second deal, I called directly the chief credit officer and said, look, why you turned down my deal? This is the second one. It does cash flow. It's obviously, you have the numbers. I sent it to you. I said, yes, well, we have a model, artificial intelligence model, used only for deals for less than $1 million. And if the model says no, they can overrule the model, but they don't do it. That's the bottom line.
Got it.
Okay, so this is a new challenge for small deals. Larger deals don't go to artificial intelligence model. They assign an underwriter and they go over the deal. Okay, is that clear to you? Because I might say, yes, your deal cash flow, but if it is less than $1 million, there will be another filter, which is the artificial intelligence filter. Based on the information that I have gathered, if your credit score is less than 675, your artificial intelligence model most likely will turn your deal down. Okay, if I got one approved with a bankruptcy, but most deal with bankruptcy, they turn them down. But I had an accountant who had a cash flow like, the debt service ratio 1.2 would approve, and he was like in 3.15. So he was like, cash flow was 3 times what was required, and they approved it. And obviously, I know I went through the artificial intelligence model, and I was like, oh my God, this guy filed for bankruptcy, but yeah, cash flow was so high that overcame that issue. And the bankruptcy was like 9 or 10 years ago. A very long time. So that is a new thing that you need to be working with. Whenever you come across an owner-user deal, don't spend time talking or explaining to them about the financing. Just give me the name and the phone number. I will explain what they need to know. He may say, I don't want to go with an SBA because I heard that it takes a long time. That is not the case. They will ask me for a lot of paperwork, and because the deal that I closed in 35 days was because the bank got the information and they never processed the deal and they did not return the calls. So the realtor knows me. Excuse me. And he said, let me send you to Oscar. And, I said, yeah, I can close the deal, but not for March the 1st. And, we signed on March the 2nd. So the thing is this, I will know how to handle, I will know how to do it. You don't need to do anything. This explanation is so that you know what type of deals are you looking for out on the street. Owner user, and you tell them, why do you want to pay rent? The same way you don't want to pay rent in your house. You want to buy your house. That's the same reason you want to buy the property where your business is located. Okay, also the 51% usage, sometime, very few time has become an issue. Most of the time has not become an issue. Okay, very early in my career, I got a deal. The wife was the realtor that recommended the deal. Her husband was trying to buy a warehouse with 4 gates. And he told me, and when we closed, he was occupying 3 gates, and they have a rental in the other gate, and they say, and that's okay, 75% occupancy, more than 51%. They closed, they were happy, everybody was happy, blah, blah, blah. A year later, she called me and said, no, I have another deal. But by the way, I stopped by the warehouse that you financed because it's really around the corner. So let's go there. Oh, okay. When I got there, I found out that the same tenant who was there was still there. But then the husband told me, well, this guy, he's like really like a relative of mine. And you cannot believe how bad the landlord treated him. And blah, 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 blah. And I told him, okay, come here. And he was there. So he was occupying the second gate. And this other guy here, oh, terrible. You know what happened? He'll go through another terrible story. The bottom line is he was occupying only 1 gate. That means 25%. But when he closed for 75% of the property. There was no issue. Okay, is that clear? Typically, I would solve 99.9% of the 51% issue. Don't let the occupancy percentage become an obstacle in your deal.
Right.
Tell me, let me know, and I will get it done. Okay, that's important because a lot of businesses say, I can occupy 60% right now, but my company is growing. So I want to buy the other area because the other area, they have a lease and that means income to me. Okay, I will arrange to get it done. And also they will have income, and when the company grows, they know they have the space already. So don't let the 51 occupancy be an issue. If it is a shopping center, it's more difficult. I'm working on a shopping center in Hialeah right now, and I believe they are going to occupy 51%. There are some doubts, but it's already done. If they decide to buy, they are going to occupy more than 51% or more. So don't let that get avoid to close the deal. You can close the deal, but let me know in advance. Do you have any other questions?
Oscar.
Yes.
Oscar, there's a couple of questions here in the chat. So I'm just going to read them out loud to you.
Oh, okay.
Diana Mena is asking which lenders are best for SBA.
My experience is I will pick and choose the lender that I would use for the 504. If you go to the bank that my client went, did not even give an answer to them, and they were offering him 80% with a conventional loan. I said, I mean, how 80%? I would give you 90%. And the numbers were very solid. They didn't know how to do it. Also, there are banks that take a long time to close because they say, let's send the deal to the SBA. And if they approve the deal, then we're going to approve the deal. Well, it will take the SBA first to approve the deal, and then they will work and will go to credit committee and so on. So that loan would take forever to close. If you give me the information, I will take care of gathering all the financial information, all the information. In my case, I process with the bank and I process with the SBA both at the same time. And both at the same time, more or less, will come back with a commitment letter and we will be ready to close. So
team, this is kind of the same as when you guys work with me. I mean, I'm a broker. I work with many different lenders on the residential side. Oscar's doing the same thing on the commercial side. So he's working with different banks. He's working directly with the SBA. So if you guys have a deal, it's not so much, am I going to send it to this bank or that bank? That's what he does. He looks at the deal overall and what makes sense to get this deal done, who's going to be the best bang for it. But the difference is that Oscar's on top of it, just like I am, because we're originators that are making money on the deals instead of getting paid by a bank. So if that deal is not moving along far enough, Oscar's the face that's saying, we need to get this moving. What's going on with the bank? What's going on with the SBA? So I think that's a very, very important distinction that we need to be aware of here, that's why
That
a
is
client goes with.
extremely important what you're saying, because different banks have different market niche. They have
Right.
different credit niche. There are banks that say, I will not touch a gas station, period. Well,
Right.
you can do gas station. Other bank would say, no, I don't want to do this type of property. When I was working with Bank of America, I was offering a line of credit for a perfume company. And I found out that 10 or 15 years ago, Bank of America lost money with a line of credit to a perfume company, and they would never do that, at least when I
Right.
was working with them. So don't go to the bank, just give me the deal, don't work anymore. I will
Yeah.
gather the financial information, I will process, I will tell you he qualified for this or not, or he qualifies for more.
Right.
As a bottom line, I would never allow the client to talk directly to the underwriter. I have lost 2 deals because the client was at a trade show and the underwriter was talking to him directly, and he was saying, oh, I'm going to buy this and then I'm going to buy that. And he was going to buy other real estate in Miami. Right. He cash flow and he himself killed the deal.
Right.
So
Oh, another
just call me
question.
and I will take care of the rest.
Another question we have here is what is the current APR? And I'll also mention here before you mention the rate, if you could just touch on the fact that when are interest rates on SBA loans put into place when you answer that question, because I don't think that the team knows that as well.
Okay, that's a very good question.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but excuse me. We didn't hear the first question.
Oh, okay.
And I know you were explaining, I think that what the question
The
was
question
is whether to
was
go to a private
Where
lender.
to go to a
Right,
bank?
yes,
If we go to a bank,
Mhm.
or what bank do we go? What banks are good? And I
Exactly.
said, no,
go to
bring the
you,
deal to
right.
me and I will place it with a bank that fits that type of credit profile.
Exactly.
Because there are banks that say, I will never lend to a gas station. I will never lend to a hotel. And I explained a case where I had a line of credit with a bank that I worked before, and they would never do that again because I don't know how many years before they lost money.
Right.
And that was like, that's it. I would not do those type of loans. So basically, you call me, you don't need to work that much. Don't work that hard. I will do the work. The only thing I need is the name and the phone number, and more or less you give me, whatever information. Also, typically, I call the realtor before I call the client. Because, for example, when the commitment letter with Marlene's client, I called Marlene and said, oh, look, I got the commitment letter. Now I'm going to tell you, client, that I have the commitment letter for him. So she knew in advance. When the SBA approved the deal, I called her first. And then after talking to her, I called the client. So to me, it's important that the realtor is on top of everything. Or it may be that your client never told you that he was 6 times past due in a mortgage loan. And I would tell, when I run the credit, I say, oh, look, your guy, he told you he's 700, but really he's at 650. So it's going to be a difficult deal. Because obviously they would, every time I talk to clients, usually 90%, they would tell me how wonderful they are. They walk on water. Well, when you look at the numbers, they don't.
So is the credit score the same criteria as when you apply for a real estate loan?
Residential loan.
I'm
The
sorry,
answer
yes,
is no.
residential.
The answer is no. The credit score has become an issue with the deals below $1 million because some banks are using artificial intelligence models.
Okay.
So, but that's the only play. Typically in residential, if you tell me my credit score, I will tell you what the interest rate is going to be.
Okay,
And you can check around, like pretty much everybody's within a range.
okay,
Now, in commercial, that is not the case. If you don't cash flow,
right,
it's over. It doesn't matter if you are 100,
okay,
okay? And also, this is important. In commercial, we do what is called global cash flow. We cash flow the company, which typically they do cash flow. We cash flow the owner of the business, and sometimes they cash flow, sometimes they don't. And you put them together, and that's how you get global cash flow. Global cash flow is what is going to determine if your deal will get approved or not.
okay. And then the second question was related to the current interest rate? Is that what?
Yeah, Oscar, the second question was related to, and I'm sorry, because my computer just crashed, so I had to join from my phone. The second question was related to what are the current SBA interest rates? And then I wanted you to expand for everybody in the
How
call
they get
when
to the
those are
interest
locked.
rate. Okay, very good. That's a very good question. I really should have explained this. I told you at the time, well, the easy answer to the interest rate for this month is 6.31 because that was at the last auction. Now we will have the April auction, and I told you it's going to be lower because I know what interest rates are going in the market, and so you know it's going to be lower than 6.31. I don't know how low it's going to go, but I can tell you it's going to be less. Now, I told you that at the time of closing, the bank would fund the first and the second loan. Is that clear to everybody?
Yes.
SBA already approved the client, but they don't have the money. Okay, so you are funded at 90%, you collected your commission, the buyer owned the property, the seller got his money, and everybody's happy. I still have work to do, okay? I would tell your client, apply for the occupational license immediately. Now it's called business tax receipt.
Yes.
When I hear business tax receipt, the first time I said, what's that? Another obstacle? No. It's the occupational license, but with a different name. Okay, it's the same thing. So I would tell him, file your occupational license application ASAP, can be done in the computer. Do the next day after closing, okay? But they're not going to give you immediately. I found out because of Marlene's client that the office, the government office told him that they have to wait until the mortgage are recorded. So you can apply, you're not going to get it the next day, but you need to have that. When you have that and the mortgage was recorded, it goes to the SBA office. And the SBA is going to say, okay, I have all the information now, and you're going to the next funding. The next funding for the next month is going to be this Friday. Today is the 5th, right? The cutoff is on April the 7th to go to the May funding. Is that clear to you? Now, let's say that your mortgage, because this is what is holding Marlene's client, it doesn't go through the recording until the 10th. Okay, he cannot go to the May funding. He will go to the June funding. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
If you get all the information before the cutoff date, you go to the next funding. If you get all the documents after the cutoff date, you go to the next one. It's not a big deal. Don't explain this to the owner. When
But
they
the
go,
property, the deal is closed.
the deal is closed, you collected
All
your
you're waiting on
commission.
is the funding.
The SBA went to the auction, they got the money, and
Mhm.
then they come back to your client and would say, we got, let's say, 631, and they will provide an amortization schedule, you know, and everything. It's irrelevant to you. You already collected your commission.
Okay.
Your client already is in the property,
Property.
and the seller got his money.
Okay, so it's in
The
the
only thing
background,
is
right?
that the second loan was not funded until the SBA went to the capital market and borrowed the money.
Got it.
At that time, he has the loan that they got fixed for 25 years.
Okay,
But don't explain this to the owner because
because it's
you might,
only gonna confuse the owner.
I had a
Got it.
realtor asking me, well, when I'm going to collect my commission? You're going to collect your commission on closing, at closing. When you get funded, that's when you collect your commission. It's irrelevant that the SBA is going to get the money later on. Wait, don't,
Yeah.
exactly, don't get it bogged down. I still have work to do. Because the bridge loan right now, because prime is high, the interest rate is high, but it's high for how long? 45 days? It may be in the worst case situation, if he doesn't get everything by Friday, it will be for 60 days. Okay, so for 60 days, he will have a high interest rate until SBA go to the auction and come back with the money. But obviously, he called me, he said, look, I don't like this interest rate. I said, yeah, I know, I don't have control over that, but it's only for 45 days. Or if you get before cutoff, if you get after the cutoff, then it's 60 days. It's not a big deal. Is that clear now how, this is for your knowledge. You don't need to explain, to worry about, you collect your commission at closing. Oh, exactly. I will pre-qualify your client. I will give you all the information and I will keep you informed before I contact the client. It may be once a week, I will give you a call, say, look, I'm still waiting for your client to provide this and that information. So that to keep you, in the loop, that you know what's going on. Okay? Any other question? Anything else?
Yeah, there was one last question that I saw, which said, can you finance courier companies?
Typically,
Can you finance?
carrier companies. The answer is yes, if they have a warehouse or an office building where they are located.
Courier companies,
Carrier companies, yeah. Well,
like they take
FedEx,
packages.
packages,
Okay.
yes.
Got it. Courier
It's unusual.
Okay.
I don't recall once. I was trying to finance one.
Mhm.
I was with another lender a very long time ago, and they were door to door to Venezuela. And the deal never closed. They didn't cash flow.
No.
Most of the time,
That's what
it
it is.
doesn't cash flow. I have been able to get deals that it's just unbelievable. And it's because, you have to keep working and working until you find a solution, or maybe you find a place, you say, well, this cannot be done.
Yeah, you can't finance if you don't do taxes. If you don't do taxes, you can't.
You have to choose. Either you pay your taxes or you pay to the lender. Okay, the last topic that I'm going to cover here. Okay, last Thursday, and this is really important, our company got an SBA number. Okay, and why SBA number is important? Because I will be able to finance directly with SBA to a business. Okay, why there is a need for that in the market? And this is the last topic that I'm going to work on. But why this is important? Because you have clients that they say, my business is growing and growing, yeah, but you still don't cash flow. Okay, so you go to your bank and bank says, well, I cannot use projections. SBA will accept projections. I will prepare the projection for you, believe me. And SBA will say yes, and they approve, but the bank says, no, I don't approve you for an SBA, sorry. Okay, I will finance your SBA deal. Now, you need to understand this. One of the advantages of SBA is that you get a fixed long-term rate. Okay, in this case, it's an expensive loan. The first mortgage is an expensive loan. Why? Because your client went to the bank and he did not qualify. I don't use this with anybody. I use only when you have to use projections. when you have a lot of business and it's growing and the bank says, no, I cannot finance you, period. That's it. Okay, why this is important? Because your client can control the property and he will be generating more business and growing, and he will be reporting everything because the interest rate in the first mortgage, it could be 10 or 11%. So it's high. Now you say it's high. Well, yeah, go to your bank and get the loan. They will say no. Now think about this. When I quote a rate, I will quote what is called blended rate. What is a blended rate? 10% in the first mortgage, 6.31 in the second mortgage. When you blend that rate, it's about 8%. Is 8% too high for your client? Well, it may be it's a little higher than the market rate, but you control the property and you have time to grow your company and to report your income, okay? And you got the loan, you control the property, and 1 year, 2 years after your closing, you will get refinanced on the first mortgage. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
So if you come across a growing company, this is not a prescription for everybody. I use hardly once in a while. And it took a lot of work to get that number because I applied and we got the number like 3 years ago. And when we were ready to close the first deal, it was a pallet company. And the pallet, all the income was cash. And guess what happened? I know you know what happened. Okay, we were ready to close and he said, I don't have a problem if you get me out of that loan in 1 year. I said, well, okay, I can take you out of that loan in 1 year, but you need to account correctly for your income, okay? And when we were ready to close, the SBA took that number away from us. Oh my God. Okay, so basically we start to work again, and it has taken us 3 years to get that number back again. It has taken to use the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for the state of Florida to get involved in that. It has taken the office of Marco Rubio and Rick Scott to get involved with that. And finally, last Thursday, they say, okay, activate that number again. So we are ready. I don't have a client right now. I talked to a guy, to an accountant, and he told me, I think I have the first client for you. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah, I have a going long business that wants to buy. Are you sure he wants to? Yeah, well, yeah, I can close that deal with that number, but he must report their income. Nobody wants to make money. It's going to make money at 10% interest rate. Nobody. That could be just to control the property, make improvement, do whatever you need to do, and then go back to, I will refinance. I don't foresee anybody going beyond 2 years. I don't foresee anybody. Are you going to be 10%, paying 10% for more than 2 years? You must be kidding me. Nobody does. But you control the property, and it may be the property is in very bad shape, and you got it, you improve the property, you report your income, and you are up to the races again.
Another business is clothes. Clothes, another cash flow.
Cash flow.
Strip
Okay. Strip clubs are not eligible for SBA.
Oh, really?
Okay, let me tell you this. They are eligible if they don't have nudity.
Right.
If they do, then it's not eligible for SBA. I came across one deal for that, and I could not finance because they have nudity. No, it was a long time ago. And it was in La Calle Ocho. It didn't fly. They had nudity. Okay,
So
not eligible.
as a reference, the criteria for someone that will qualify for an SBA loan is a business that has been in business for 3 years.
For 2 years.
2 years.
If you have been in business for 2 years, yes, I'll take you.
Okay. 2 years. The
profit.
officer,
For profit,
yeah, of course. And the.
occupy at least 51%.
Okay, and then have a credit score of above.
Forget about the credit score.
Credit score, okay, cash flow and credit score will work.
This guy
together.
that I'm closing, I have taken him twice
Okay,
to credit simulation.
okay,
He's the only client that I have to tell him, you cannot use your credit card at a McDonald's.
got it.
Okay, you cannot, period. Stop using it. Do you have any question? Any other question that I'm not aware of?
I don't see anything else in the chat, Oscar.
Okay, if you have a client that I will tell you does not cash flow, is obvious eligible for that deal that we are restarting all over since
Okay.
last Thursday. To me, that was a wonderful news. Also because we closed on Friday, so it was like, oh my God! On Thursday I got the number. On Friday we closed Marlene's deal, so it was wonderful. And if you have any question, you have my business card. Maybe not all of you have my business card, but you call me and you tell me my client is doing this and that, and do you think he's eligible? Or I will tell you exactly if he is or he's not, or what he has to do
To make it happen.
to make it happen. And keep in mind, I'm not making a salary at a bank anymore.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm like you. I'm on a
Yeah,
commission basis.
based.
That's why the guy that I'm about to close, he was turned down by his bank, even though he's a professional. But his enemies were taking his financial decision. So keep that in mind. If you have don't spend time explaining I'm going to give you the name of a lender that will tell you exactly how the SBA is going to work. And I will answer all the questions. I have provided more information so that you are aware of the program and how easy or how difficult it is. But let me explain. Let me put me in front of your client and I will convince him to do the deal. The first objection is it takes too long. It's not. They will ask me for everything. No, they will not go back more than 3 years. And even, it's very narrow. I mean, 3 years of corporate and personal income taxes. I will give a personal financial statement to fill in, an authorization to pull credit, and we use soft pulling so that the credit score doesn't go down. So we know the credit score and it doesn't go down because we use soft pulling. There was a problem with that guy that I'm about to close. Any other question? Anything else that you want to go? Are you now totally confused or you have more information at the beginning? So
No,
don't
definitely
forget.
a lot more information than the.
Yeah, more information. I hope not more confused. So if you come across a client, I even gave you the industries that should you be looking for: food industries, professionals, industry that you should avoid, dry cleaners, businesses with a lot of cash. Avoid all the retailers. I have never been able to finance a retailer. They are at shopping centers and they don't occupy 51% of the property. And they don't buy the real estate. Typically, large companies don't buy the real estate. The large companies, they adjust or grow their space. Typically, professional, smaller companies, typically they buy the real estate. In Miami, 90% of my financing goes to freight forwarders and wholesalers. Because in Miami, what do you have? Warehouses all over the place. And the remaining 10% is professionals, accountants, doctors, dentists, and the likes. Okay?
Okay.
If you don't have any question, then basically, that's it. All right.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. It really was a pleasure to be able to explain you all that.
Thank you, Oscar. Diana, I'm gonna ask Marlene to share Oscar's contact information in the WhatsApp group, so everybody can have the contact information for Oscar.
Excellent. All
So
right.
we're finished. Great. That
Yes,
was a
we are.
very good class. Thank you,
Oh, thank
Oscar,
you.
for coming
Thank
in.
you, Oscar.
You're welcome.
I'll go ahead and make sure that we publish this class in our new YouTube channel that we're going to introduce very, very soon. It's going to be Canvas Real Estate Miami Lakes. I think somebody had a question. Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, or Diana Mena for chiming in, Alex and everybody else. So we look forward to seeing you this Friday at the group coaching that Joelle does. And this Saturday is our first farmers market here in Miami Lakes. And we're looking forward to everyone participating. You all got an invite through Calendly. All you have to do is reserve your shift. You don't have to pay for your shift. You just reserve it, and then we'll get back to you a few days before the shift to make sure you're still going to be attending. And that's when you pay the $25. And part of it will go towards the cost of participating in the farmers market and raffles and gift cards. And it's going to be very, very interactive. And it looks like possibly Joelle and I will be manning the booth or the tent there at the Miami Lakes Farmers Market this Saturday. But I'm looking forward to everyone else participating the next few Saturdays and see how it goes. Plus, remember, we have our first time buyer seminar, the very first time buyer seminar. Sorry for the redundancy. On Saturday, April 15th, we are printing 5,000 postcards that will be given out at the farmers market, and we're going to share it with each of you to invite people that you know, business owners in the area, and especially people that qualify possibly for the Hometown Heroes programs, okay? So please chime in, stay in touch with us. Thank you for participating every week, and we will see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.